Hi, welcome to Freezer Meals 101. I'm Christy.
And I'm Charla. Christy and I are neighbors, and we get together to make freezer meals, well, all the time, but we've been doing it
over 11 years.
11 years. And we used to do only every 3 months, and we'd make enough for 3 months. Now that we've got the YouTube channel and we're teaching you how we do what we do so that you can do this, we do get together more often to do this.
Yeah, we do. I see you all the time. How handy that we're neighbors and besties.
It works out so well. It's kind of the best of all worlds.
I think so. Everybody should have a freezer meal friend, for starters. Somebody that pulls their weight, somebody who is organized, and somebody you can stand to be in a kitchen with for 2 days straight, talking about, and I mean, sometimes mundane things, sometimes the deepest things you have ever wanted to consider. And those things, of course, don't make it into our videos.
No, but, you know, we end up talking about everything from, like,
our
music
kids
to,
whatever.
Parenting, our kids, childhood memories, like, we talk
Supper
about
club.
it all.
We talk about it all. It's great. So find yourself a friend, make yourself some freezer meals, check us out here so you can learn and find new recipes.
Today's recipes are sheet pans. That means less dishes.
That means not always having to make a side with it because the side is included. Sometimes even the starch is included. So it's a lot of times it's an all-in-one meal. It's all ready at the same time. So you know when you're first learning how to cook.
Oh my goodness, that's the hardest part.
How do you time it so that the potatoes are ready at the same time as the chicken, the same time as the green beans? And I have to make a salad during that too? So this is an all-in-one. It's kind of
takes all the thinking
cooking
out of it.
for dummies. You know, do you remember those books from the 90s?
You could say that.
Yeah, I think it's kind of cooking for dummies. I think sheet pans are an awesome way to do it. The other thing I like is that the flavor in a sheet pan meal seems to be bumped right up. Because all the food is cooked together on the same sheet pan, the flavors mingle and they boost each other. Like you will hear some of our recipes that we have here today, and you will see, I can see why those go together.
Yes. So these are going to be super good for families. They are really good for nights when you don't have a lot of time. Yeah. And the fact that you're making them ahead means you just take the bag, you dump it onto the sheet pan. Like, it could not be easier.
Oh, I do one step in between. I put in parchment or some tin foil. So I'm not even really doing the dishes. It just gives a really good wipe down.
Okay, so we're gonna get to the first recipe, and then we have something really exciting to tell you about that will help you.
It's true.
Yeah, but I wanna get to the recipe so that you have kind of an idea of what's possible with a freezer to sheet pan meal. So this first recipe that we're gonna be talking about is a sheet pan cashew chicken and vegetables. Oh my goodness, it's so good.
And this is a new one to us. We made it in our mega session that we just had a little while ago.
I'm going to put a link there to that because we made 140 freezer meals. So if you're looking for a lot of ideas, that will
And you're
cover
thinking, Charla, out of 140 freezer meals, how did this one stand out?
Oh,
the flavors.
It's so good.
It is so good.
It is packed with flavor. It's easy and it's healthy because you've got all those vegetables and the bright colors, and for me, color is what tells you if a meal is healthy or not.
This is true.
And it's beautiful.
Right.
It's also, you'll see. It's beautiful. So for this sheet pan meal, you're actually going to need 2 large freezer bags. Into your first bag, you're going to put 2 boneless, skinless chicken breasts that's been cubed into 1-inch cubes, and some snow peas or sugar peas, and some raw unsalted cashews. You're gonna set that aside. In your other large freezer bag, you're gonna put a coarsely chopped yellow pepper, coarsely chopped red pepper, coarsely chopped orange pepper, a purple onion that's been cut into chunks, and then in a bowl, you're going to mix together some soy sauce, rice wine vinegar, sesame oil, garlic, and ginger. For ginger, we like the squeezy tube ginger because it still has that freshness, but it's a lot easier than grating your own ginger. And for garlic, we tend to just use the pre-minced garlic in the large container because we're doing so many meals at a time that it just makes sense to save that time for us. You're gonna mix all that together in your bowl, and then you're gonna pour half of it in with your veggies and half of it in with the chicken, snow peas, and cashews. You're going to just toss those around a little bit to combine, get all your excess air out, seal the bags, and then you're gonna staple the bags together above the seal. Of course, you gotta staple above the seal so that you don't get holes in your bags. And on the day that you go to cook this, you're gonna thaw it, and then you just put some parchment paper down. You're gonna put just your veggies on your cookie sheet on that parchment paper and cook that for 15 minutes. And then you're gonna take it out and you're gonna add the chicken, snow peas, and cashews bag. Cook that for another 15 minutes. Gonna just sprinkle that with some sliced green onions and sesame seeds, and then you're gonna serve it. So that's seriously it. Half an hour, and you have your chicken, your vegetables, you've even got some extra protein there with the cashews. Now for this one, if you want to make some rice on the side and serve it over some rice, you totally can. But if you were in a hurry and you didn't have time, it's still a pretty full meal.
Yes, it is. And you are right. All the color in that makes it so gorgeous.
It's beautiful. I mean, is it weird to call food beautiful? I don't know, but I do it all the time.
I don't think it's weird at all. It's you eat with your eyes before you ever eat with your mouth.
So even though the sheet pan cashew chicken and veg is a brand new recipe, it has already made its way into the club. So
it's true.
You can check that out if you're in the club. The link for that is down below. So you can see how even though it's a freezer meal in a sheet pan, this is still good dining. Like,
oh, it is. It totally
this is like
is.
Restaurant quality food. On that note, Christy and I are going to invite you to come to a free cooking class that we have.
It's true.
It is sheet pan meals. You're gonna get 5 different recipes. Some of them are gonna be ones you see today, some of them are not. And you're gonna make 2 of each of those recipes. So you're going to end up with 10 meals for your freezer.
And with the cooking class, you're gonna get a PDF that has all of the recipes in it, a shopping list. So you could make it just one at a time, like 5. Or we have it also in there how much you need to buy if you want to double it. And it comes with a prep list, and it comes with labels.
Yes, your printable labels.
You can kind of get a taste of what it's like to be in the club without actually being in the club because you get the labels.
Absolutely.
And it's so good. All of the meals in it are so good. We've made them so many times. In fact, there's one in there that I'm going to talk about next that we make so during our mega sessions, we always sneak a few of our favorites in there. There's always some must-haves. This one is always in there, and we'll make it in between sessions too because we enjoy it so much. And again, the sheet pan, it's got the protein, it's got the veg, it's got the starch right in it. So listen, this one is the Cajun sausage sheet pan dinner. We start out with a garlic sausage or Ukrainian sausage, or sometimes we call it kubasa. It can be called kielbasa. Pronunciations aside, we're gonna just chop it up into rings and get that into our bag. We're gonna add in some sweet potato. We're going to add in butternut squash, so you can see where some of the color and the starch is gonna start happening here. Some olive oil and some Cajun seasoning. Now, you can be as generous with your Cajun seasoning as you like. I mean, we're talking like 1, maybe 2 tablespoons of Cajun seasoning here because it really does pack a punch and your kitchen is gonna smell glorious. And then we're gonna add a little bit of salt onto that. Get everything into your bag, seal it up, mix it around, squeeze all your air out, and then you can freeze it. On the day of cooking, you can throw the foil or parchment paper on your cookie sheet, empty your bag right onto the cookie sheet. You want to bake this at 400 degrees for 35 minutes. Occasionally, at my house, we will also add baby potatoes into this mix. You can't freeze raw potatoes very well. They freeze okay if they're cooked, but a raw potato isn't something we would want to put in this, yet the sweet potato does fine.
Yes.
Which is really funny. I don't think they're as closely related as
the names
would suggest. Yeah. This is correct. So we add in sometimes the baby potatoes at home just to flesh it out a little bit, and we are a carb-loving family.
This next recipe was also a new one in this latest mega session that we did, and it is a vegetarian sheet pan meal. It's a Sriracha roasted cauliflower and chickpea sheet pan.
Now listen, we have a meat-eating family at our house. Your family can get away. You've done it long enough where your family is like, okay, it's vegetarian. Yeah. I have a meat-eating family, so sometimes I have to sneak that stuff in a little bit more. And this was totally well received. My son didn't super love the chickpeas. That's fair. It's a texture thing for him.
Yeah.
My daughter ate it like she had never eaten food before. Like, it was so good. And it's spicy.
Your husband was willing to eat it.
And my husband was willing to eat it now. We had company when I made this one, and that is a brave thing to do. You had already had it, and I knew it was going to be good. But the first time you cook something and company is coming, that is very brave. That's how good this is. So I made the cashew chicken the same time as the Sriracha cauliflower.
So you use this as a side dish.
I used this as a side dish.
Which you can totally do.
Which is how I could get away with having a vegetarian.
Yes, and for me, we had it as a main, but we had some salad, and so,
it was more.
This was kind of our big proteined main, and then we had the salad on the side.
Because chickpeas are great source of protein.
Great source of protein. And if you're looking for ways to save on your grocery budget, then throwing in some meatless meals here and there is a really, really good easy way to do it.
And we all know that groceries have skyrocketed, so you got to do what we can. We're going to pass along our tips when we discover them, and this is one of them.
So, into your large bag, you're going to put some cauliflower florets, drained and rinsed chickpeas, olive oil, sea salt, and pepper. You're gonna give that a shake to combine, take out the excess air, and seal it. Now, the reason that you're gonna take the air out of all of these bags before you seal and freeze them is because when you're freezer cooking, air is your enemy.
It's true.
It is what causes your freezer burn, and nobody wants freezer burn. So you got to make sure to get that air out. Now what you're going to do is, in a bowl, you're going to mix together some Sriracha, low sodium soy sauce. Make sure it's low sodium, otherwise this will be too salty. Maple syrup, because we're in Canada, so got to throw that in when we can.
You got to balance out your acids with some sweetness, so you might as well use maple syrup.
Totally. Some apple cider vinegar, ginger, again we're using that squeezy tube, sesame oil, and chopped green onions. Then we're gonna pour that into a medium-sized freezer bag. Again, get the excess air out, seal it, and then you're gonna staple that onto your other bag above the seal. On the day that you go to cook this, you're gonna thaw it. You're gonna bake just the chickpea cauliflower stuff on your baking sheet for 20 minutes, and then you're gonna toss it with the sauce, set your oven to broil, and broil it for another 6 to 7 minutes with the sauce on it. And the flavors of that
I know, and then your cauliflower starts to crisp up a little bit under the broiler. Oh, that intense roasting flavor, great.
It's so good. And if you are a family that likes things a little bit spicy, like us, then you want to add some more Sriracha into your,
your bag.
Or
you can even top it at the end.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah, or you can serve it sort of as a sauce on the side.
Totally. And, I mean, it says 2 tablespoons of Sriracha. It does pack some heat. So if you are a family that is not on the spicy spectrum,
like theirs.
Yeah, the one tablespoon would do you half a tablespoon. It's still gonna have the flavor of the Sriracha, and you can mask the heat a little bit by not putting quite so much in. It's still flavorful and still worth a shot.
Okay, funny story. So one of our sons we just drove him. We just got back actually last night because we drove him to his new summer job at a a like mountain bike golf. In the winter, it's a ski resort, but a, you know, resort in the mountains. And so Christy and I last week made him a whole bunch of meals. Like we'll put a link right there to that. We made like 48 individual meals. So if you're looking for single serving meals, you'll want to check that out.
Totally.
But I was thinking of what else to pack for him as far as food goes. And I hadn't gone grocery shopping for this. I hadn't planned. I didn't even have any like breakfast things for him. All he has, well, not all he has. He's a lucky kid to have.
He's a lucky kid to have
for him.
A lot of meals that we make for him.
I was like, Sriracha. This kid cannot live without his hot sauces and Sriracha. And so I packed a Sriracha.
Oh, you're a good mom. He'll be so glad to have that.
Oh, he was thrilled.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. You know, a little taste of home, right?
Exactly.
That's so funny. And it's the right kid to give the Sriracha to. She knows. This next one, again, has been a staple since,
forever.
I want to say even before we were doing sheet pan meals.
It is, because we used to do it in the slow cooker.
We used to do this one in the slow cooker. And it is the flavor. The pesto in this, it's pesto chicken and vegetables. I mean, it sounds boring, but pesto can be exciting. And it really pulls this meal together. So this one, we're gonna get our chicken breasts, boneless and skinless, into the bag. We're going to add in our pesto sauce, some diced zucchini, some carrots that have been peeled and diced, kernel corn, some chicken broth, and then a packet of dry ranch seasoning. You can also buy this at Bulk Barn, so it's 4 tablespoons if you want to use it interchangeably. And then sometimes we add in Brussels sprouts like that are already frozen, because then they've been blanched properly. Or I will add in the Brussels sprouts fresh at the time, because sometimes they're a little bit bigger and they crisp up nicer if they're fresh. And in this case, I did it in the Brussels sprouts for this meal. You want to squish it all around again to combine everything and remove the excess air and seal it up and freeze it. So like we said, you can do this one in the slow cooker. Just put it in your crock pot on low for 4 to 6 hours. And you could maybe shred it like at that temperature for that long. It is going to be really tender, sometimes easily shreddable, maybe falling apart a little bit, but it is so good because all that pesto is timed to really penetrate and get in there and flavor it. But listen, in the sheet pan, this is still such a punch because it's roasted and so stuff starts to caramelize, and you want to do this in your oven at 375 for about 40 minutes. This is another one that you would want to use some aluminum foil. Like the oil in here with your pesto would be enough to make it a little greasier, so it's not going to be such a hard cleanup. But we are big fans of using the parchment paper or the foil. Yes, anything to avoid really scrubbing that dish.
And you can find the recipe for the pesto chicken and veg and the Cajun sausage sheet pan in the link below. But those are the two that you will also find in that cooking class. And you can find that free cooking class link also in the description below. So go check that out, because then you can make those 2 plus 3 others. And oh, so good. And fill your freezer. Stack your freezer.
Stack your freezer.
It is so much peace of mind to never have to think, what am I going to make for dinner?
And even when you took your son, I asked you, I'm like, did everything fit in his little freezer? And she's like, well, my husband was concerned that I was taking too much, so I scaled back a bit. Turns out they have big chest freezer that was mostly empty.
Yeah, he could have brought it all.
Now,
we're going to visit him in 4 weeks, so we'll bring it.
If he's living in a communal situation,
yeah,
those might.
Yeah, I think people are pretty respectful.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the culture of how they are with each other's food. So I would be curious. I'm curious to find out what he's had and what's still there when you get back there.
I know that the night we dropped him off, there were no restaurants open, and we hadn't fed him on the drive because it's a 7-hour drive. So we had like given him snacks and stuff, but we were so intent on we have to be there by a certain time.
Right.
And so we got there, and then we're like, well, we'll take you out to eat now, and so like once we'd unpacked his stuff, and then there were no restaurants open. And so we're like, sorry, bud. And he's like, that's okay. I have burritos. Because that was one of the things. So I know for sure that he has eaten burritos.
That's so funny.
I don't know
awesome.
what he's eating today. And chances are really good he's never going to remember to take something out in the morning to thaw.
Oh, no.
So,
Not him.
So it's going to be, there's some learning curve here, but
He'll figure it out. If the boy wants to eat, he will figure it out.
I did say, make sure you take the plastic wrap off before you microwave, and never put the burritos are wrapped in foil. So I'm like, never put that in the microwave.
Totally. And some of the ones, like the enchiladas, were in the tin.
Yeah, so that goes in the oven.
Has to go in the oven.
Yeah.
You can't put that in the microwave. So really,
there was a lot of
hey, sparks might fly and he'll learn something. You never know. You never know. This last meal is sheet pan shrimp fajitas. And we started out with this one thinking of it as a sheet pan, but I got an air fryer for Christmas, so we have been experimenting with that, and this is a really great air fryer recipe. So we have directions for both. So we start out with our frozen shrimp. I always tend to buy the Costco shrimp, and I get the one without the tails. If it was going to be thawed and I could take the tails off, or if I wanted to cook it with the tails to increase the flavor and take the tails off as you're eating, you totally can do that. I prefer to buy the tailless frozen shrimp because it makes my life a little bit easier. So we're gonna separate our shrimp and our vegetables and put the sauce in. So start out with your shrimp in a bag, and in the other bag I'm gonna add in some sliced onion, yellow pepper, and red pepper that's also been sliced. Now in a separate bowl, I'm gonna mix together some lime juice, some olive oil, and fajita seasoning, or 4 tablespoons of bulk fajita seasoning that we pick up at Bulk Barn.
And we made our own this time.
We made our own. Yeah. We have a seasonings video a while ago that we did because it is a little bit cheaper, but also you can control what's in it. So sometimes there's sugar or salt in there that maybe your diet doesn't allow for that right now. So you can control that a little bit. So make your own seasonings if you want, and they freeze. Once we have that mixed together, we're going to divide it evenly between the 2 bags so that the shrimp gets the marinade and the veggies get the marinade. We're going to squish it all around together, get all the air out, and seal it up. And again, we'll staple it above the lines because we don't want holes in our bags, we don't want leaks. You're gonna line your cookie sheet with foil, you're gonna cook your vegetables for 10 minutes, and then you can add your shrimp and cook it for another 6 or 8 minutes. Shrimp does not take very long to cook. You just want it to be pink and just perfectly curled, and then you get it out of there. And you can serve this on tortillas with some cilantro and some extra purple onion and some cotija cheese, or just whatever other fixings you want. This one, to me, I like to mix up a little Sriracha mayo and put it on, and I feel like I'm at a restaurant. Because this, again, is kind of restaurant quality food.
Yes, it is. And the shrimp fajitas, I have to admit that I was a little bit like, I was not that excited to try the shrimp fajitas because we have like an amazing chicken fajita sheet pan meal.
We do.
That's one of the ones that's in the cooking class. And so I was like, well, it's not going to compare. But it's so good.
It's so good.
And like the shrimp, to me, that's one that's especially good in the summer. Like it's just a little fresher, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I was a little bit hesitant to try because I felt loyal to my chicken fajita.
That's fair. That's super cute.
But I have to say, we now have 2 really good sheet pan fajita meals.
We totally do. And we do have beef fajitas that we have maybe never tried.
No, we've never done them as a sheet pan.
Maybe we should experiment a little bit. You should experiment. If you have ever, if you have our beef fajita recipe, I'm sure it's on the website.
Yeah, it is.
Check it out. Try it in the sheet pan. Give us a shout. We would like to know. But yeah, I think maybe in the future we will try that.
So we have made 5 beautiful sheet pan recipes. Like beautiful, so many colors, and it's been gorgeous. Okay, and tasty.
It is
Fair enough,
tasty.
it's been tasty.
And at the end of the day, they're going to be easy. That is the best part about sheet pan. Well, okay,
Yeah.
it isn't the best part.
But if the idea of not having to think about what to make for dinner appeals to you, then we just really encourage you to come and take that cooking class with us, because then all the work's taken out of it for you in terms of the thinking, because your shopping list is there, your prep list is there, your printable labels with the cooking instructions are there. It's all, and you sit there with your ingredients and watch the class and make it along with us.
Like, you get to do your prep ahead of time and cook with us. That's our favorite part about it.
If you don't have a freezer meal friend yet, we can be your freezer meal friend. Like, we'll cook right with you.
And there are tips and tricks in there. And now listen, we do talk a lot about our mega sessions. That's not for everybody. That is difficult to do. That is high level freezer meal stuff. I don't recommend that you start there unless you are super organized, super ambitious, and really speaks to your overachiever in you. And I have that in me, and I know you do too, and that's partly why we do it. But we didn't start there. Like, okay, well, I did, and I know you did too.
Yeah.
But it isn't for everybody. Start by doubling your meals. Start by picking up the cooking class and making 10 meals. And see how that feels every time you take one out, that you don't have to be like, oh, what am I going to make for supper tonight?
It's glorious.
Maybe you could graduate to trying a month's worth at once.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so really, freezer meals can be for everybody, and they're customizable. They can be for you. They really are for everybody.
So just for fun, because it has nothing to do with what we talked about today, but I'm going to put a link right there to those meals that we made for my son.
Oh, yeah.
And then if you're looking for individual meals that you want to make for yourself, for lunches, for one of your parents, for college kids, whatever, it's there. And we thank you so much for joining us today. Happy cooking.
Happy cooking.